Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 362, The Watch, for beginner. The rain hammered against the windows, blurring the lights of the city into a dazzling display. Inside, Detective Inspector Davies nervously checked his watch. 11:30 p.m. He should have been home hours ago, but this case was different. It was personal. His daughter, Emily, had been missing for 3 days. The police had no leads, no suspects, nothing. Davies felt a surge of anger, then despair. He slumped in his chair, the leather cold against his skin. Suddenly, the phone rang. Davies snatched it up, his heart pounding. "Davies!" "Inspector," a voice rasped. "I have your daughter." Davies felt a wave of nausea. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows what she's worth." "What do you want?" Davies demanded, his voice trembling. "Money," the voice hissed. "A lot of money." The line went dead. Davies stared at the receiver, his mind racing. He had to find Emily. He had to. He called in his team, his voice grim. "We have a ransom demand, Emily." The room fell silent. The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air. "Find the caller," Davies ordered, his voice tight. "Trace the call. Every second counts." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Phones rang, computers whirred, officers worked tirelessly. But there were no breakthroughs. The caller had covered their tracks expertly. Frustration mounted. Davies paced his office, his mind a whirlwind of worry. He had to think. He had to find a way to reach Emily. Then he remembered something. Emily had a small silver locket around her neck. It was a family heirloom passed down from her grandmother. "Find Emily's locket," Davies ordered. "Describe it to the media. Tell them it's the only way to prove they have her." The news spread quickly. The local news channels carried the story, displaying a picture of the locket. The following day, a package arrived at the police station. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was Emily's locket. Hope surged through Davies. They were close. He called the number on the ransom note. "I have the locket," Davies said, his voice steady. "Where is my daughter?" "Bring the money," the voice instructed, "to the old warehouse on the docks, midnight tomorrow." Davies knew the risks, but he had no choice. He had to save his daughter. The next day, a heavily armed police force surrounded the warehouse. Davies, carrying a briefcase filled with cash, approached alone. Inside, the warehouse was dark and deserted. Dust lay thick on the floor. Davies cautiously moved forward, his heart pounding. Suddenly, a light flickered on. A figure emerged from the shadows, holding a gun. "Put the money down," the figure demanded. Davies slowly placed the briefcase on the floor. "Where's my daughter?" he asked, his voice steady. The figure pointed to a door at the back of the warehouse. Davies rushed towards the door, his gun drawn. He burst through the door and found himself in a small, empty room. Disappointment washed over him. Suddenly, he heard a soft whimper. He turned and saw Emily huddled in the corner, tears streaming down her face. She ran into his arms, burying her face in his chest. "Daddy," she sobbed, "I was so scared." Davies held her close, relief washing over him. He looked around the room. The figure was gone. They never found the kidnapper, but Davies knew that he would never forget the fear, the anger, and the overwhelming relief of that night. He had faced his worst nightmare and emerged victorious. Vocabulary notes. Hammered, verb, to strike repeatedly with force. Example, the rain hammered against the windows. Similar words. Beat, less intense. The waves beat against the shore. Pound, more intense. The music pounded from the speakers. Lash implies violence. The wind lashed at the trees. Blurred, verb, to make something difficult to see clearly. Example, the rain blurred the lights of the city. Similar words, obscured, the fog obscured the view. Clouded, the smoke clouded the sky. Muffled, the sound of the music was muffled by the rain. Dizzying, adjective, causing a feeling of dizziness or confusion. Example, blurring the lights of the city into a dizzying display. Similar words, vertiginous, the vertiginous height of the skyscraper made him feel dizzy. Disorienting, the sudden change in direction was disorienting. Mind-boggling, the complexity of the problem was mind-boggling. Nausea, noun, a feeling of sickness in the stomach, often with a desire to vomit. Example, Davies felt a wave of nausea. Similar words, sickness, he felt sickness in his stomach. Queasiness, the boat ride caused a feeling of queasiness. Indigestion, usually caused by food. He suffered from indigestion after eating too much. Trembling, verb, to shake involuntarily, typically as a result of fear or cold. Example, what do you want? Davies demanded, his voice trembling. Similar words, shaking, his hands were shaking. Shivering, he shivered with cold. Quivering, a slight trembling. Her lips quivered as she spoke. Word, verb, to make a buzzing or humming sound. Example, computer's word. Similar words, buzzed, the engine buzzed. Hummed, the refrigerator hummed quietly. Revolved, the propeller revolved rapidly. Mounted, verb, to increase gradually. Example, frustration mounted. Similar words, increased, the temperature increased steadily. Rose, the water level rose. Escalated, the tension escalated quickly. Cautiously, adverb, with great care or prudence. Example, Davies cautiously moved forward. Similar words, carefully, he walked carefully on the icy pavement. Warily, he looked at the stranger warily. Suspiciously, she eyed him suspiciously. Story written by Google Gemini 1.5 AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.